What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new stupid podcast with a couple of guys who don't know what we're doing. This is Bardic Blunders, and we're just a couple of nerds that are going to talk about nerd stuff. I don't know how to do intros, so this is terrible. You know me, obviously. This is my channel, but I can introduce my friend Eli.
Eli.
You actually have been on my channel before when we played Power Wash Simulator. So, but this is a little bit more of a
Roll of like 5 minutes.
for five. Well, I mean, it was a decent long stream, but we just decided we wanted to do a podcast, and what better to do it on than our nerddom, considering that's both of our defining personality traits. If we want to just give a little bit of background onto what kind of nerds we are, both of us play D&D. We both play a lot of video games. You know, not super comic nerds. We've got our niches. I've got Moon Knight, and you've got Daredevil. But yeah, we just had a few talking points we both had written down, and I'll throw it over to you for whatever you want to start with.
Man. Do we want to start with the elephant in the room with Halo?
Where does Halo go next?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can start with that. So, considering you're the resident Halo expert, I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, so Halo Infinite, without going into too many spoilers, the campaign ended on kind of a high note. Now they are doing some of the like behind the scenes story with some other stuff featuring Oni and like the multiplayer passes, but let's kind of skip over those. But I believe the best course of action for Halo in the current day and age is to kill off Master Chief.
Ooh. That's...
We love him, but yeah, I'm going deep.
I mean, it's hard to disagree. It probably is time to move on to a different flagship character, even if I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of fans who will not be cool with that decision, should that be what is decided. I mean, that would ruffle a lot of feathers. You'd get a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. I personally, I could see them continuing to use Master Chief, but also I don't think killing him off would be a bad choice.
Retire him.
Yeah, well, yeah, you
Kill
can't...
him or retire him. He's been around long enough.
Right.
I hate to say it like that. And there's probably a lot of amazing stories you could still tell with Master Chief that don't involve him in the video games.
Right. Well, and that's... Now, here's my question. Do you think that they could have him just retire and say, you know, I can't do this anymore, it's time for me to step away, or do they have to kill him off?
That's a tough one because the current campaign of Halo Infinite really set up a point where it's like, oh, it has a way to be like, you show Chief having a lot more emotion than he has in any other Halo game.
Right. Yeah, especially with all of his interactions with the weapon are
Weapon and the pilot, because
and the
like
pilot.
you look at look at the earlier editions of Master Chief dealing with non-super soldiers. He just kind of ignores them.
Right. Well, and I can actually speak on this now since I've played through the 3 Halo games. I haven't played 4 or 5. Well, I played 4, I just haven't finished it. But I have finally that's another thing that would make a lot of people mad. They find out that I played Halo Infinite before the original trilogy. But yeah, definitely. Through the first 3 games, he's kind of just like he blows off anyone who's not like Lord Hood is one of the only non-Spartans that he has any sort of respectful interaction with. Then there's Johnson, there's Arbiter, and then there's both Miranda and Captain Keyes.
Yeah, 5 characters. And if you go into like the more lore stuff, you also have. So you've played Halo Reach all the way through, right?
Yes, I have beaten Halo Reach. That was my first one.
I don't really care about spoilers for a video game that came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
The way George treats Dr. Halsey, like he views her as a mother figure, crank that up to 11 for John.
Right.
Or Master Chief, because that's pretty much the person who raised him, and it's just that's one of the other ones that he does not. He treats her with a lot of respect, even though she probably shouldn't be treated with a lot of respect from him.
Well, and that's who Cortana's based off of, right? Is Halsey?
It's one aspect of her.
Oh, okay. I'm still not super familiar with the lore of all that. I at least understand a little bit of it, but...
So, there's like 4 clones of Halsey's brain. Cortana's the first one. And then you have the weapon, who is number 2, I believe, and then you have 2 other ones. So, you have 4 evolutions of Cortana, basically.
Okay.
Basically. And each one kind of mirrors a different personality of a different side of Halsey's personality.
Okay. So, do you think they introduce a new Spartan as a protagonist if they were to kill Master Chief? Do you think they introduce a new Spartan, or do they do something like ODST where you play as a non-Spartan?
So there's 2 ways they could do it. And I hate to say it, they either have to bring in another Spartan, and it's got to be in lore terms, a hyper-lethal, which just means you can beat the entire game on easy and not die once.
Right.
Spartan. Or they have to do something with the Arbiter.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Did they show anything with Arbiter and Infinite? I don't recall.
No. And nobody really knows what he's doing at the present time in Halo lore. Because it's been like a year since the last time we saw him, and he does a lot really fast.
Okay.
Even if you don't play the Arbiter, if you play somebody, if you played
another Sangheili.
Yeah, an Elite or a Sangheili, that's a part of the Swords of Sanghelios, or Arbiter's faction. That's up and coming in the ranks. That would be a very interesting game, and I would play it because it's Halo, but I would probably be very interested in what direction they could take that.
Yeah, that's 343 is in desperate need of a Halo game that is successful on launch, because Infinite's recovered a little bit, but they're never going to get rid of the stench that it had right on release with the lack of features. So they definitely, especially if they decide to kill off Master Chief, they've got to knock it out of the park on whatever they do next.
Let's say you can't kill him on screen.
Right. Because they've already done the main character dies on screen thing with Noble 6.
Yeah, I mean, you could, but you would have to make it worthwhile
Oh yeah.
because it if you kill him off screen, it's going to cause a little bit of confusion at first.
Yeah.
But like, if we learned, oh, setting up Atriox is the current big bad. Like, he faced off against Master Chief again and killed him this time and made sure he was dead.
Yeah.
Though I could see them doing like, okay, here's Halo Infinite 2. And you get all the way to the end of it and Master Chief dies fighting Atriox. And it's like, oh, that's not supposed to happen.
Now, what if they killed each other? Master Chief
No.
manages to finish off Atriox, but dies.
You need a villain like Atriox. That's was the Flood in Halo 1, 2, and 3. That was the Covenant in Halo Reach. You needed a big bad that you could face off against. Halo 4 didn't really have a villain and it suffered. Halo 5, you did Cortana, which really suffered.
A lot of people
And
didn't like
now,
that one.
yeah, that. I don't know if people are ever going to swing around to be like, oh yeah, Halo 5 was a good game, campaign-wise. Multiplayer, amazing. I can't knock that.
All right. So yeah, Halo's got an interesting future for sure. But moving on to one of
It
our.
needs, you need to put it in a bag and shake it till it works.
That's a good. That's a good description. Um, so just as a little bit of a for people to get a little bit of a sense of how, who we are, what we're into, why don't we talk about our top 5 favorite video game characters? And I may have cheated a little bit on one of mine, but I'm sure you'll understand my reasoning.
5 to 1, like
5 to 1.
top.
I'll start
And
5 to 1. Yeah. So we can both do like we both do our 5, both do our 4. We can do it like that.
yeah.
So at number 5, this is my weird one. I have Noble Team. Not any particular member, although I could tell you which member would be my favorite. But
Coffee meal.
yeah. But I felt
the one character that wasn't supposed to even be in the game.
I didn't know that, but that's funny. Um, I had a hard time separating any member of Noble Team because they're all so intertwined, and even like
Yeah.
if you see Noble Six's story after, or well, it's not after, but like his whole story outside of the games, and all these different
What
characters, they're
story?
just. What do you mean, what story? Doesn't he have story, or is that all fan made? Maybe I'm confused.
No, he does have story. It's just like one paragraph.
Yeah, well, I mean, isn't he's one of the only gosh dang, if I could speak, the only hyper lethal Spartan outside of Chief, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, that in and of itself is interesting enough, but
The thing with him, which I would find interesting if they did a character based around and not Locke, because Locke sucked, was Noble Six was basically an Oni agent before Oni got super big.
okay.
And he was just an assassin, so all of his stuff is black flagged.
Classified.
Yep. So it's like, this is kind of what he was doing at this time. Oh yeah, he got pulled out of this to do this.
All right, I mean, hey, that just makes him even more interesting. And even
You
not
got
being a big Halo guy, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would be like, why can't you put Master Chief there? But I love Noble Team. And like their whole story, that whole game, Reach is still my favorite Halo game, even after playing all the other ones. Reach is still tops for me.
Say honesty is mine. Just that really ended as a kid.
Right. So who do you got at number 5?
This is going to be a character I don't think you've heard of.
Oh. Throw it out there.
Legion from Mass Effect.
You're right. I have heard the name, but I've not played the Mass Effect games, so I don't know who that is.
So in the first game, you fight the robot aliens.
Okay.
He's one of them.
Is he the leader?
No, he's from a different group.
Okay.
That's like, he's a very interesting character to explain because it's like, because he's a robot and they're all like AI.
Okay.
There's like a couple thousand of him. There's a couple thousand like artificial intelligence all jammed into like this moving gun platform.
Okay. So he's drawing connections to Legion from the Bible. It's kind of the similar thing, except instead of demons, it's AI.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's an interesting character because he never truly understands certain things. And it's really funny to have him in the party because somebody will make a comment like, I feel like this, and he's like, feelings mean nothing. Logically. He's like,
Data?
He's like Data or Spock.
Okay. Alright.
And one of the coolest lines he has is in Mass Effect 3, I believe. I don't remember what game it was because it's been like 6 years or so since I've played through all the Mass Effects. He makes a line to Commander Shepard, your character.
Yeah.
Does this unit have a soul?
Oh.
And it's like, that's a very interesting concept, which, if we stream any of your next D&D campaign, will be an interesting topic that I might have stolen.
I immediately made the connection there. I would love to stream it if we could. It's just a matter of figuring out how. But moving on to number 4, I've got an interesting one that I think a lot of people would question. I think my whole list is one people would question. Because there's, outside of the vagueness of Noble Team, there's no main characters from video games on here. My next one would be Cynthia from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Now,
You mean the Nuzlocke hater?
yeah, the one who ruins the Nuzlocks? Yes, definitely. My reasoning for this, because yes, I understand Pokemon it's intended for kids, so it tends to be a little bit more shallow in its character writing. But Cynthia, I think, perfectly encapsulates what the champion of the Pokemon region is supposed to be. She is helpful throughout the region. She patrols the whole region, helping you and helping other people. She deals with helps you deal with a threat to the region in the evil Pokemon Team Galactic. And then at the end of the game, she's actually incredibly difficult, even for seasoned Pokemon players. Where there's a lot of other champions like Generation 2, Lance. I've never played Generation 6, but I know the champion from X and Y is pathetic. Like, barely a speed bump. Cynthia manages to be the most difficult champion.
Don't worry, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the champion is a pushover if you pick the right starter.
I heard she was ridiculously easy to handle, and it's partially because of her team comp, but also the order in which they come out.
Yeah. Now I will say, she is nowhere near the hardest w- person to face off against in Scarlet and Violet.
Oh no, it's your rival, right?
Nimona's okay. Um, but I actually had the hardest time trying to remember who it was. One of the gym leaders.
Oh, see, I heard again. I haven't played anything past Generation 6, and I don't own a Switch, so I haven't played Gen 9. The electric gym leader I heard caused people problems. Um,
Yeah.
it was the dude who's both a gym leader and an Elite Four member. I've heard has caused people problems as well.
Larry.
Larry, yeah,
It was Larry because it was like you go into it and it's like, oh, a normal gym. This will be a pushover, and then he just pub stomps you.
oh yeah. Normal,
And it's not like,
normal
oh,
is definitely a good
normal.
type.
It's like, oh man, I'll take a fighting type in. Why are you countering?
Yep. That funny with as basic as normal type is, and with a lot of the weakest Pokemon tending to have normal type, the normal type gyms that have been in games have been some of the most difficult. From Gen 3, from Ruby and Sapphire, when you fight Norman, and he's got two freaking slacking that just obliterate anything. You've got to have a physical wall if you want to deal with them. But what do you got at number 4? Who's your number 4?
Master Chief.
Okay. I figured you'd probably have him on there. I just wasn't sure where.
I put him so low in the list too, which is kind of funny to me. Because Master Chief, he's a great character, but it's like he was kind of the player insert.
Right.
Until 343 got him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially after playing the first game, he doesn't have a whole lot more dialogue than Link does in Legend of Zelda.
No, he does have some of the best lines out of video gaming.
Oh gosh, Halo 2. I think my favorite line from him. I mean, he does have quite a few good lines, but the sir, giving the Covenant back their bomb is just so like when I heard it the first time, I'm like, oh snap, he's about to ruin some lives.
And funny enough, my favorite portrayal of Master Chief isn't in any video game.
It's in one of the books?
No.
Oh, is it the I forgot what it's called. The movie, the live action movie.
Yep. Forward Unto Dawn.
Yeah, that's right.
I believe that's the name of the movie. I'll have to look it up.
I think you're right with that one. The one where it's showing mostly like the training of the soldiers.
Yes. That 2012 that came out, and I still view that as probably the best portrayal of Master Chief.
I watched that movie before I played any of the Halo games. Funny enough. That was my first exposure to the Halo franchise.
It was a very good portrayal, and I liked how they did him. Because he was very large and imposing, and it was just like, oh yeah, that's Master Chief.
Yeah, and the like reaction of all the, I mean, they were pretty much kids. They were like teenagers.
They were like 18 to 20 year olds.
Yeah, so you see young adults were all like, Master Chief?
Well, it's even funnier because no one knew who he was at the time, because that was the very beginning of the Human Continent War.
Oh yeah, I guess it was more like, this guy's big.
Yeah, man, he's dropping all of these aliens like they're sacks of potatoes.
Yeah, he kills the hunter too.
Yeah,
Way easier than I killed a hunter in any of the games, might I add.
yeah.
We are not worthy to to pilot Master Chief. He's just far
Uh,
too strong.
Picking it over to your number 3 spot.
My number 3 spot. I don't know if you have played this game. I know you'll know the character. Wheatley from Portal 2.
You are going to laugh your ass off when you hear my number 3.
Oh, I'll be interested to hear that. But Wheatley, I don't know. I love Portal 2, and there was a good chunk of time where it was my favorite game of all time. It has since been replaced by a couple other characters, but I mean, just the switch from the comedic little innocent robot to a horrifically evil monster who ends up being even worse than GLaDOS is just great. And especially the ending of Portal 2 is one of the best endings to any video game I've ever played. Like shooting the moon with the portal and dragging him out to space, everything. But I mean, really, my love of Wheatley is also just a love of Portal. But oh man, what's the name of the voice actor who voices him? He does such a good job at bringing Wheatley to life and making him what he is.
Pulling it up now. Stephen Merchant.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, oh man, incredible performance by him on Wheatley. I must say. But yeah, you've played Portal? You've played Portal 2?
I have not played Portal 2, but I have played the original Portal.
I have a feeling I know what your number 3 is.
GLaDOS?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That was just one of those games I played as a kid, and I remember as a kid hating GLaDOS.
But that's the point.
But now that I've gotten older and I've gone back and replayed Portal, and I'm like, oh man.
She's hilarious, but she definitely makes you hate her the entire time. She's like what is the line? I always loved where she's basically saying you're fat and you don't need any cake. Or
yeah,
like
it was just as an adult going back and replaying it where it's like, oh, this isn't a hard game. It's just a puzzle game. And just the wisecracks from GLaDOS, I'm like, okay, this is why people love this game so much.
oh yeah. Well, and I
because
definitely
it was a
go ahead.
comedic puzzle. It was a comedic puzzle game, and it was enjoyable.
Well, it was something like that. It was a kind of puzzle game no one had ever seen.
Yeah.
With the whole, like, I still remember the first time I played it, whenever I shoot one portal on the wall, shoot another portal on the other wall, and I'm like, whoa, I can see myself forever. But, like, that, and at the time, when did the first one come out? It was, like, 2008? 2009? I want to say. Let's see.
2007, October.
2007, okay. There was nothing like that in games with the way the portals worked. And
exactly.
So definitely, I will say, since you haven't played Portal 2, you should play it. Heck, we should both play that together. We should do the co-op. Because the co-op is fun,
that's one of those
too.
things where it was like, because it's like I've gone back and played a lot of games as an adult that I struggled with as a child, and it makes me realize how dumb I was as a child.
I've done the same thing. I've definitely done the same thing, especially when I replayed like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, and I was like, how did I ever struggle with these as a kid?
Or like
Awesome.
Rome Total War. Like, man, I can beat that in a single night if I wanted to now.
Uh, that's great. But
You're number 2.
my number 2, it was hard. I considered uh, putting one of the Persona 5 characters here because I love all the Persona 5 characters, but the problem was picking which one was by far and away my favorite, and I couldn't really do that. So I had to grab from a different video game here, Krieg from Borderlands 2. I guess, okay, he is a player character. I said there wasn't another main character, but by that I mean like a character that spans the franchise, like Master Chief or Lara Croft or Link, those kind of characters.
Yeah.
Krieg is just, I mean, he's just so much fun. I every time I go back for a replay of Borderlands 2, I'm like, Krieg, easily, hands down, Krieg. He's who I'm taking. I've played through the game as all 6 characters, and Krieg is my favorite. But it's also the extra dimension of learning about his backstory, and I still need to go back and play the Krieg DLC from Borderlands 3. Because I want to know a lot of the backstory that was just kind of hinted at in Borderlands 2. Because a lot of people think, or at least thought back then, that Krieg was Tiny Tina's dad. And I don't know if they revealed that in the DLC in 3 or not, but whether it's the story behind him or just, I mean, he has some of the greatest lines in video games. Like if you leave him idle and he starts shouting about nipple salads. It's just a stupid fun character. That's why I've got him up there.
Well, Spencer, we've been friends for a very long time, and I can tell. Because my number 2 pick was Handsome Jack.
Oh, man. What are the odds? Okay, so unless you have a Pokemon character at number 1, because I know you won't match from my number 1 game, we've now both had characters from Halo, Borderlands, and Portal. So this is hilarious. But go right on ahead with Handsome Jack, because I'll agree with a lot of your points.
Arguably, to me, the best video game villain ever written.
Hands down. Hands down.
And I might get some flack for this. However, he is by far, to me, the best video game villain ever written. Because he is evil through and through, and he ridicules you the entire game.
And he does not fall into the there's a current trope going on a lot, which we can talk about at a different juncture, but the trope of the sympathetic villain, he's a good job not just being a evil villain for no purpose without being a sympathetic villain.
Exactly.
And he just knocks it out of the park.
Okay.
His ridiculing you and like then
or
descent
just like the
into
stories
insanity.
he comes. Yeah, it's just like some of the stories he says, and it's like, man, this is actually really funny.
Like
this is really like
the one where he's talking about scooping the guy's eyeball out.
yeah.
That one, oh man, that's great. And then the mission where he's just like, I will pay you to, I can't say the words because YouTube's strict like that, but unalive yourself. Yeah, I guess that's the acceptable term for it. Great choice for number 2.
Wait, can I take a guess? Your first pick comes from Dark Souls.
Close. It's from Bloodborne. So same Same kind of space, but little bit different. It's Lady Maria.
Yep.
Um,
I could have guessed this one.
yeah, and most people who know me can. Lady Maria is my favorite boss in video games. Period. Like every video game ever. She's my tops the list of Bloodborne / Dark Souls / whatever FromSoft game you want to. Tops my list of those bosses, and all my favorite bosses from gaming come from those games. So, but it's not just how good she is as a boss. Her backstory is great too. She's got a very sad backstory, and it's way too long for me to explain all here. I would just suggest anyone who is interested in it to go look it up, because it gives a new depth to the character. And I mean, that's the way all of Dark Souls is. You don't really get the message put right in front of you. You kind of have to go seek it out. And when you do, you get some of the best stories, I think, in gaming. It's incredible. But top to bottom, Lady Maria is just too much fun for me to shirk from the number one spot.
Fair enough. Could you take a guess on where my favorite video game character is?
That's your... Are you double dipping with Halo? Are you throwing in another Halo character? I couldn't quite hear you on that one.
I am.
You are.
Sorry.
Okay.
I swear by this man.
Oh, yeah! It's Sergeant Johnson.
Hands down. The best sidekick ever to be put into video games.
Oh, man.
And he's iconic as all get out.
Dude, you showed me the different quotes he has for the difficulties on the bridge in Halo 2. Like, all of those lines are so good.
For a brick, he flew pretty good. And it's like, the original Halo, how the game starts is by Sergeant Johnson giving a speech.
Right. And then, sadly, Halo 3 is... I mean, it's not the exact ending of the game, but it's in the last mission.
Calling back to our first point, Halo Infinite, I feel, would be in a million times better if the pilot was replaced with Sergeant Johnson, because I had no connection to the pilot at all.
Yeah, the pilot, when I first played Infinite, I did like the pilot. I didn't feel like he was super cool or anything. There was a couple of times where I'm like, all right, dude, shut up. But I did like him. After going through the original Halo games, unequivocally, I agree. Johnson would have made Halo Infinite 10 times better. Or at least a character. I know they can't do an exact carbon copy of Johnson because it would just feel cheap. But at least a character with some sort of a similar vibe to him rather than the pilot who's a little bit of a scaredy cat.
Yeah. But that's the interesting thing to me, because it's like you kind of needed the pilot to be the scaredy cat, to be the human side. Because the Master Chief's like, no, we're going to go right into the thick of it. And Sergeant Johnson would have been like, okay, let's go.
That's true. That is true. I guess it was mostly his like, are we really going to do this? It's like they could have done it a little bit better. Like if they kind of had him playing it like, you can tell he's stressed and this is messing with him, but he's like sarcastic, where he's like, yeah, no, great idea. Just dive head on into the middle of all these aliens. Wait, we're actually doing that? Like, if they kind of had him like that, I feel like it would have worked a little bit better.
Oh yeah. And like, I probably would have dropped Legion from this list to put a Baldur's Gate character in, but I haven't even finished the game on my own.
Oh yeah.
So there is a character that very much I would put into that slot, and you hate her, but she's one of those characters that I'm like, no, that's a good character just outside of the box.
Is it uh the Gith Yankee?
Yes, Lae'zel.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I played Baldur's Gate with you earlier. That was my first time touching the game, so I
Yeah,
can't really make a
he's a
statement on any of the characters in the game yet. I know everybody loves Karlach or Karlach,
yes.
however you say her name.
He is a very he is the punk rock character if you've ever made one.
See, I know. It's just from taking a quick jaunt on Twitter, I know everyone is horny for her, like
Yes, is
unbelievably so.
the best way to put it is the three women in the party. You have Karlach, Shadowheart, and Lae'zel. Karlach is the punk rock girl, Shadowheart is the goth emo girl, and Lae'zel's like, I don't know if we'll get in trouble for saying it, but
She's the mean girl. She belongs in Mean Girls.
yeah, very controlling, wanting to be in charge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
That
don't
might
think
wear
anybody will
leather.
disagree with that because that was my immediate thing where she's like just insulting me endlessly. I'm like, hey, chill. I just helped you stay alive. What's the beef with me for?
Yeah.
But, all right. So we got each of our 5 favorite video game characters. Gives you an idea of what we're like. How about we talk about something else that shows what we're like?
Oh, the gamer fuel.
The gamer fuel, not G Fuel, copyrighted. We mean what food do we like to snack on when we're chilling and playing some video games? And I'll let you kick this off because I've got some interesting ones.
Oh man, this is gonna make me sound so terrible as a human.
Oh gosh.
I am a very simple man, and you know this.
Yes.
When it comes down to it, I am very simplistic in what I like.
Mm-hmm.
So, 95% of the time, when I'm playing video games or I'm at D&D with you guys, with our D&D group, I have 2 things with me.
Coke
And coffee.
and coffee. Yep.
As easy as it goes. I don't even snack on a lot of things while I play video games.
No, not typically. Most of the time, what I've seen you, at least what you've brought to D&D, it's like pretzels or I think actually pretzels is the only thing you've brought multiple times. You do bring Cheez-Its a lot, and when we were playing D&D, when we had the apartment, you would always leave like half-eaten bags of Cheez-Its, and I'm like, why does he keep leaving these Cheez-Its here?
Yeah, I do. I love one kind of Cheez-It.
Just plain
Extra toasted.
extra toasted. That's right. That's right. See, I love the white cheddar Cheez-Its. I don't mind the extra toasted or the regular Cheez-Its, but it was always like our snack cabinet ended up being half like a quarter of the cabinet was half-eaten bags of Cheez-Its. Because you would never finish the bag you bought, so I always left with Cheez-Its.
Figured you guys would finish them all. Also, if I'm looking at candy, it's mostly gummies.
Yes, that's true.
I do love gummies.
Well, yeah. I mean, If I'm speaking on candy, it's a fruit that you cannot partake in. It's Reese's Cups. Reese's Cups, hands down, are my favorite candy. They are so good, and I will eat myself sick on Reese's Cups. Um, but typically, when I'm just hanging out and gaming, it's chocolate milk. Chocolate milk is my drink of choice.
We'll go
And
brew a pot of coffee and drink the entire thing just playing like video games or first person shooters and high strategy games.
oh yeah, see,
Mm-mm.
coffee helps with those kind of games, but a lot of the time I'm just like chilling, and I mean, I know,
You just vibing out.
yeah, I'm just vibing, and that includes when I'm like playing Bloodborne and everything. I mean, minus my Dark Souls Soul Level 1 run, that I was not just vibing. That one was like actual fear. But um but typically, even when I'm playing those games, I'm just kind of chilling. So I don't play a lot of super stressful strategy games.
I
I'd love to
love
play.
those though.
I'd love to try Civilization at some point,
Oh
but
man, that would I I I like Civ a lot. I like Civ. I like Rome Total War. I like those kind of games where it's like city planning and combat planning.
right, right.
But I also really like 4X games, so that plays in there. Like Star Trek Ascendancy, favorite board game that has come out recently, and it's not even a recent game. I have everything for that game
This,
except for the board and the most recent expansion.
that I mean, that is a
But
fun game. That of the board games we've played at game night before. I mean, there's quite a few that I don't like all that much. Like, I mean, you know my feelings on Twilight Imperium, but
I know.
Star Trek is a lot of fun. Once I figured it out. Before I figured it out, I was kind of just like, "What's going on?" But once I learned, it was definitely a lot of fun.
So, what's your game fuel of choice?
When it comes to eating, it's kind of just whatever I feel like in the moment. Um, I mean, I've had full on like 5 course meals while playing video games. Like I'm playing a game and I'm sitting there like eating a tuna steak with mashed potatoes and broccoli or something like that. Like I've done that before. Sometimes it's just like Cheetos. Other times it's like recently, because I bought a giant bag of it from Walmart, it's been the Reese's Puffs. Just eating handfuls of Reese's Puffs.
Point out that your first, yeah, 5 course meal, it's like, I'm, for your fan base, I am a chef,
Yes.
Chef Eagle Eye. I don't even eat that well.
No. This man is 6 foot even and like maybe a buck 40 soaking wet.
No, I am 150 pounds.
Wow, you've actually gone up in weight. Good job.
Yeah, it's from moving a bunch of. It's like calisthenics mixed with moving a generator.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's I've always joked and called this man Flat Stanley. And I mean there's been plenty of other jokes of that same vein. Like they say what's it they don't trust a
Turn
thin
sideways,
chef.
I can't see me.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
turns
don't trust a skinny chef.
don't trust a
Ha ha
skinny
ha.
chef, so you know, he's the most untrustworthy of all. But yeah, I mean there's been times it's really my gaming snack just depends on what I'm feeling at the moment. I eat a lot of different snacks. If I had to solidly pick one, it would be Reese's, but I've also been trying not to eat a bunch of candy recently, so you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. Not like I have a ton. It's just it all collects right in my stomach, so I've got this like beer gut. Even though I'm not that like I'm like 215, 6'2", 215. I'm not that big. It's just it all collects in one spot. So I'm trying to do a little bit of watching my diet. But what point would you like to move on to?
Sorry, I'm just like flipping through all of our stuff.
Oh yeah, you're good. You're good.
There's so many places I have to look. Did that one. We've done those two. What do you want to do? Because I'm thinking either, one D&D or esports dying.
We can talk about one D&D. I am more than willing to talk about one D&D.
And the best part is I've done zero research into it.
I mean, the gist of it is, so both of us are DMs. We have both DM'd our current group. We're bouncing back and forth. We pass off week to week. So I've looked at a lot of 1D&D as it's been coming out. I haven't seen some of the more recent stuff, but it's been a lot of things that make me kind of just say, we're going to keep using 5e, but if there's an interesting thing that 1D&D makes, we'll grab it and use it. But I don't really want to switch entirely to 1D&D until they change a lot of things. I also don't like the name. Why couldn't they have just called it 6th edition?
Honestly, it's not even 6. It's D&D 5.5.
Yeah, it's like 5.5. I know they did the, what was it, 3.5?
Yep.
Well, I know they already did the 0.5 before, but why change the naming convention? So even just as a base, I don't like the name 1D&D. But it's kind of a mix between good changes, bad changes. It's, that's the way I felt looking at all the stuff for it.
Yeah, I like what we were talking earlier about this, and I like what they're doing with martial classes, kind of making them feel like, hey, they can actually go someplace.
Right.
After a certain point, because like D&D, you always have the fall off. You play a martial class to make it through the early game, and then late game, it's like, oh, cool. There's nothing for me to do because I can't match a firestorm from the cleric.
Well, yeah, like a barbarian's whole point is to just stay alive, basically. A fighter's whole point is to just get in the face of the enemy and make sure they can't move around freely. Like, martial classes, the only one that can keep up with damage is rogue, and even then, the rogue is so situational with a lot of its damage. It's difficult to keep it sustained. You can make a good martial class, but the issue with them is, like, if you're talking fighter, there's only a few that are viable late game. Samurai manages to stay viable because all you have to do is have a spellcaster give a samurai haste, and all of a sudden, oh my goodness, we can get this samurai to have 64 attacks in a turn. That's terrifying. Assassin and swashbuckler from rogue can keep up late game, but
monks keep up.
But... And I mean, there's totem barbarian and zealot barbarian are really good late game, but there's so many subclasses that fall by the wayside that I do agree what they're changing with martial classes is the best course of action for them.
Like, it's actually kind of terrifying. Like, look at that one session we had of D&D. The level 17 sorcerer got out-damaged by a level 17 fighter.
Right.
Like, that rune fighter, the rune of whatever, I don't even know what, the rune knight fighter keeps up, and he's got so many tricks in his bag, there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about building them right. You have to be so much more specific with your martial classes. A spellcaster, once you get to that high level, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And I think that's been the biggest issue. And I think that would be the best thing they could do for 1D&D is fix the worst martial class. Like, let's talk about the worst subclass in the game, Storm Herald Barbarian. It's just not
I knew it
good.
was coming. I knew it was coming.
It's just not good.
I know.
Like, why? It's interesting, and that's the sad part. It's interesting, but it's not viable. Because why would you pick Storm Herald when you could pick Zealot, or you could pick Totem Warrior, or, you know, these other barbarians just do so much better, and their special features feel so much better. And I think that's the thing, too, because when you look at Sorcerer, Wild Magic Sorcerer is probably inherently the weakest Sorcerer, just because of the negative effects that can come back on you. But it's so much fun, and it's so interesting to play, that that's what everyone ends up playing when they pick a Sorcerer.
Yeah.
So they need to do something like that for Storm Heralds. Give it a little bit of love. But, how about we talk about esports a little bit. Esports is not... I'm not a huge watcher of esports. I catch it sometimes, but I really only stay in the games that I play. So, I used to watch Worlds for League, and I mean, really, that's the main one. That's the only one I've ever truly gotten invested in. I've watched a slight bit of, like, Apex and Call of Duty, but I don't really play those.
You definitely watched some of Halo with me.
A little bit.
Because I would turn it on at work and just let it run while we were working together.
Exactly. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of that, but I've not been super huge into esports. But I mean, there are quite a few people who are, and it just doesn't seem to end up being profitable. And we talked about this the other day, and we discussed how it was team esports that was struggling.
Yeah, solo esports, I don't get it very much, because, like, look at StarCraft. You can be a solo player, you can join a team, but the team's really just there to pay for your travels.
Exactly.
Like, it's a solo game, but how big are those tournaments? How big are Tekken tournaments? How big are Mortal Kombat tournaments?
Street Fighter, yeah, basically any fighting game has their own draw. And
look at, like, you could probably put on a, I don't know, like, Tetris tournament.
Oh yeah, Tetris 99. Well, actually, yeah, regular Tetris, I've seen tournaments of regular Tetris. Those happen too. They're a lot more niche, but they still exist.
Or, like, okay, say we set up an event for Pong. A Pong tournament in Orlando, Florida. Big of a draw, do you think? Okay, you would get a lot of older people coming and playing, but what do you think that would be compared to, like, oh, we're doing a League of Legends tournament in Orlando, Florida?
It would attract different demographics, for sure. I think people would be interested in Pong. I think if you were to do, like, Pong, it would be, like, a classic video game tournament, and you, like, rent out a convention hall, and you have Donkey Kong, and you have Super Mario, and you have Pac-Man, Pong.
But imagine how big that would be.
people would love that. But
And you would get the younger people like, okay, I want to go compete in this because like I like esports and this gives me a chance to compete with these old guys. And then you have people who break Pac-Man because they've played so many levels of it.
oh yeah, and they can do it on command. It's like instant. Oh yeah,
And they're like,
you want me to max out the score on Pac-Man? Yeah, just come over here. Watch. It'll take me a couple
and
hours, but
they're like 60 years old with grandkids now.
right.
And they'd be like, oh, okay. Like, my father would just it's a Space Invaders. He can max that game out without even thinking about it. He just sits down and does it, and it's like, okay, well, there's 4 hours of your life gone. Well, you told me to show you how I do it. I'm like, yeah, show me. And just you didn't talk at all for 3 hours and just sat there glued to the screen.
Oh man, yeah. Well, and I think if you want to look at like what Moist Critical's doing with what he's trying to do to make team esports viable by having the in-person events where it's not just like League of Legends Worlds where it's like we rented out this massive stadium and we've got all these people coming to watch these two teams face off, and it's more just like, hey, I own the team, we're gonna do a bunch of stupid things on stage while we watch our Apex team compete for the world championship. And he just did it at the Straz Center in Tampa, and it had a fairly decent turnout. And I think that's the way that esports, it's like what happens with solo esports is it's a lot of streamers. It's like, I'm just streaming, I'm going to compete in esports. If they kind of try and do the same thing with team esports, I think it can be kept alive. But you've got to have somebody willing to do that, and I'm thinking Critical is the one who is willing to do that and see if that can succeed. So,
As long as he stays out of controversy.
oh, yeah. Well, and I mean, so far he has.
I mean, he got into it with Sneeko, but
he did, but everyone was on his side.
yeah,
That's not a clip, you buffoon. That's a magazine. Oh, that was such a great moment. Speaking of great moments and perhaps the death of great moments, why don't we talk about the death of classic game franchises? There's been quite a few classic franchises who have had horribly botched games over the past few years that have all but killed the series. A lot of people consider Infinite that for Halo, but Halo's going to keep trucking along. What other examples would you be able to think of?
well, Call of Duty has gone back to just re-releasing old games,
Yeah, pretty much.
which is kind of the low heat death of those companies.
Oh, yeah.
WoW released WoW Classic, and I haven't heard much from it, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know they did that. That's funny.
You know what's even funnier? Both you and me got invited to go play it.
Really?
Yeah. Alex.
Oh, that's right. We did. I did forget about that entirely.
Yeah. I mean,
Huh. I know there's at
Yeah.
least a few others.
Zelda's still trucking.
Zelda's still moving along, although people had issues with Tears of the Kingdom. But
Metroid's gone.
Metroid's, they're still waiting for Metroid Prime 4. It wasn't Jak and Daxter, it was Ratchet and Clank just released a game a few years ago, and it fell flat in its face.
Yeah.
And that's
Smash Bros. Still does good, but it's Nintendo, so how are you really gonna?
Yeah, Nintendo hasn't really had one of those that have just flopped. And it's a lot of games that haven't had anything big recently, and it was like an attempt to call back to some sort of nostalgia. And it's been mostly Sony and Xbox that have dropped some stinkers. Fallout is struggling right now. Fallout 4 is very divisive, and Fallout 76 is almost entirely panned. And I mean, as someone who loves Fallout, I love Fallout New Vegas, and actually now there's a character from New Vegas I'm thinking I should have had on my top 5 characters, but oh well. I tried Fallout 76. I could not get past the first 10 minutes of the game. It was just unbelievably boring.
Grand Theft Auto. When's GTA 6 coming out? In 5 years?
No release date. Elder Scrolls 6, no release date.
Yeah,
Which,
man, it's like
you know those both will sell well. They will sell well.
oh, of course they'll sell well, but like it's been 10 years since the last GTA.
It's been 12 since the last Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. Well, Elder Scrolls can kind of get away with that.
Yeah,
Just due to all the modding you can do in it.
A little bit, but people are clamoring for Elder Scrolls 6, especially, I don't know if you heard the report, when they announced Elder Scrolls at E3, they hadn't even begun development on it.
Nope.
They didn't even begin development until like this last year.
Well, they kind of explained that one because they wanted to get Starfield out, but Starfield, I've heard a lot of mixed results about it.
Mixed, yeah, exactly. Mixed. Some people love it, some people don't. And the reason for that is they're saying it's just another Bethesda game. If you like Bethesda games, you like it. If you want something more from Bethesda, you'll be disappointed. And I mean, Bethesda's kind of become a status quo company. They'll release a game and it'll do about what you expect it to do, and not really like test anything new or stretch the limits of their ideas. It's just kind of another game, and that's what Bethesda's done a lot recently.
You had brought this up as one of the points that we could have gone over, but look at sports games. The only
EA.
sports game that I haven't heard going downhill is FIFA, but FIFA sells so well everywhere.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. FIFA gets away with it because so many people love soccer that
Exactly.
or football. I'm a filthy American, so I call it soccer. So many people love it that it is going to sell, and even if you have a lot of people who don't like it, you're going to have a lot of people who like it. When you're talking hockey and football, even as popular as they are, I mean, NHL hasn't been as badly torn into as Madden. Madden is bad. Again, Madden 24 just released, and it unsurprisingly, it just sucks. And there's been a lot of issues with games like that, especially those long-running franchises that have kind of gotten complacent. Yearly release kind of franchises. Assassin's Creed was there.
Assassin's Creed's still there is the problem.
It kind of changed things enough to keep itself new, but at the same time, a lot of people still don't like the direction it's gone in. And I can see both sides of the argument. I think old Assassin's Creed was getting stale, but I see how new Assassin's Creed doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed.
Like, or look at like Tom Clancy games.
When was the last Tom Clancy game? Rainbow Six? Siege?
Yeah.
And
Actually,
that
no. It was the Division.
did the Division come after? And well, even if the first one didn't, I know the second one did because it was like 2019, 2018.
Yeah, like, or Borderlands. Borderlands 3 fell flat, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it did good things, and the sad part about Borderlands 3 is it had the best feeling combat of the series, but the story just fell so far short of the other games that it's it's hard to enjoy the same amount, even if technically it feels better.
Um,
And I
Gears
mean
of
that's
War.
just it's a sad state of games right now. Obviously, we are getting a lot of great games. Baldur's Gate, incredible. Even only having played a few hours of it, Baldur's Gate is great. Um, yeah, brain, no work. Even with people not loving Starfield, Starfield is still doing very well. Uh, if you want to go to indie games, Stardew Valley is one of the most beloved games, and it's got an update coming soon. You know,
It's like we're rolling in our phones.
yeah, um, yeah. So there's all kinds of great video games hanging around right now, and Stardew being one of them. Their update coming up here is actually very interesting. Um, so we have played Stardew a lot, the two of us together. Um,
If you give
and
me a second, I can get you my Steam hours on Stardew.
oh gosh, I play it on the Xbox app, so I don't think I can look at hours played on that. But the 1.6 update. I know Concerned Ape originally hinted that it was just going to be an update for modders. It was just oh, hey, here's an update to help with modding the game. Then I guess he got a little out of control and just started adding a bunch of stuff. So we've got a new major festival, 2 new mini festivals, new late game content, which expands on each of the skill areas, new items and crafting recipes, Joja alternatives to some of the in-game quests, 100 plus new lines of dialogue, winter outfits for the villagers, new type of reward for completing billboard requests, and on PC, support for 8-player multiplayer, which I will love to take part in if we can
We
get
don't
8
have
people.
8 friends between the two.
No, we don't have 8 friends, not who are willing to play Stardew.
So this is my logged time recorded. This is online Steam time, 237.6 hours in Stardew.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Plus probably another 100 of unrecorded.
See, I mean, you can record some of my Stardew time just looking at my channel because I've live streamed it, I think twice now. But then we've spent quite a decent chunk of time on our farm that we have together.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find another game that I come anywhere as close to that. Like even Skyrim, I'm only at 51 hours played on Steam.
I can beat that.
Oh yeah, you got Borderlands 2.
Borderlands 2 and Gary's Mod. I played so much back in high school. I think I have 500 some odd hours in both of them. In both of them. Let's see. Borderlands 2, I have 591 hours, and in Gary's Mod, oh, I have 377 in Gary's Mod. But I played both of those a lot in high school. Those because those were two of my only games. I mean, even Portal, I've got 39. Left 4 Dead 2, I have 113. So
Rome Total War, I have 74 hours.
yeah, I think Borderlands 2 for me is going to be the most. Which, that's yeah. I mean, I played all 6 characters all the way through Ultimate Vault Hunter, so that's what makes up that large amount of time playing that.
That's like maybe like Halo 3. I would have that many hours logged.
Halo
But
5?
that was like Halo. No, I. Oh, hey, that's a interesting point because I don't know how many.
Well, yeah, because so another little tidbit of information about this guy. Back in high school, he was so good at Halo 5, he was in the top 100 players. You were invited to an esports league for Halo 5.
Yes, a non-American one.
Not American, but still, like that's not something I can say. I've never been top 100 in a game in the world. Like,
I made a good run at it with Halo Infinite when it first came out.
yeah, didn't you get up to Onyx?
Yeah, I'm good at Halo games.
You are very good at Halo games. But yeah, so I don't know. There's the new Stardew update seems very interesting, especially we kind of got off on a tangent there for a second. But the Joja alternative is interesting to me because I know there's a mod somebody made that was giving the Joja ending, where rather than kicking Joja Mart out and finishing the community center, you give them the community center.
Yes, no, that's just the JoJo ending.
Yeah, somebody made a mod that expands that and like actually lets you turn the farm into like a capitalist, well, I guess it would be corporatist, and like go full on, push your chips full on into the Joja corner, and that is very intriguing to me. So I want to see what he's got in mind with the Joja alternatives. There's a new farm type as well, and I mean the support for 8-player multiplayer. Even though we don't have 8 people, we do have 5. We might be able to get all together, and when before it was only 4. Now we don't have to worry about trying to find a multiplayer mod or something like that.
We could probably get 7.
Possibly, yeah.
If we got the entire D&D group, and that's 6 of us,
Right.
plus Gillis.
True.
That would give us 7. And my internet went down, so yay.
Oh, goody. As long as you don't
So,
drop, that's fine.
no, I can do everything off of my phone. My laptop's just kind of useless at this point.
All right. So let's hit 2 more quick notes. What do you think is the worst? I said AAA. We can say game. We'll just ignore like the Steam dumpster diving kind of games. But what do you think is the worst game to come out recently, within the last year or 2?
I have to go look at them because I haven't played that many games. I've been kind of busy.
That's fair. I'll give you a little bit of time. I know what my worst one is. It is just released like 3 days ago. the new Avatar: The Last Airbender game. It sucks. It is so bad. It it's I don't even know how to explain it because it's $50 to start off with, and it is a like scraping the bottom of the barrel to try and make a cash grab at a retelling of Avatar. It does not add anything to the story. It's just retelling the story of the series again, and it is essentially a Flash game. Like, I feel like it's a game that you would have found on Nickelodeon.com 10 years ago. And it has segments of the game that is just a shameless rip of Subway Surfers. I am not joking. It is literally just Subway Surfers. When I first saw the advertisements for the game, I thought it was a mobile game. And then I found out that it was a actual game, and then I found out it was $50. Okay, no, nuh-uh. This is terrible. I don't think another game compares to that. I know there are some other real bad ones, but that is to video games what the M. Night Shyamalan Last Airbender is to movies. It's just bad.
Actually, this is actually a lot harder for me because like there's no games that it's like, oh no, this just because I don't see a lot of those games. I could probably go like, oh, one like the Disney Starlight Dreamlight Valley, whatever it is. But that's not for people like me.
I was gonna say, there's a lot of people who really, really love that game. You could argue the newest Pokemon game, not as a whole, but definitely with like when you're walking around and someone in the background is moving at like 2 frames a second. There's certain things like that where technically it's not made super well.
Like a game that so A Plague Tale, the original one.
Yeah.
I had such a hard time with that game because it was, and I don't know if they fixed it in Requiem because I never got to play Requiem, but I never heard anything about Requiem.
I think it's on Game Pass.
Not like I have time to play my Xbox that much.
That's fair.
It's like you gave me a game that you're forcing me to play stealthy. I won't argue the story's good. The story's amazing. You gave me a game that I have to play stealthy, and then you don't give me other routes to go through to be stealthy. I have to go one path. And if they just kind of copy and printed that for Requiem, it would have. I don't think it would make a very good.
Okay. I never got to play either of them, though I was interested. I never got to. So I can't
paid
really.
$80 for the first Plague's Tale.
80?
And it was not. Yeah.
Why did you pay so much?
Because there was other things that came with it, and it was like, let me just grab it now. Because I pre-ordered it too, and it was like, I played it. And it was one of those games where it's like, I paid this much, I have to play it and get my money's worth. And I don't think I did.
That always sucks. It's why I don't pre-order games too often. The last game I pre-ordered was Elden Ring. And that's because I knew I was going to like Elden Ring.
Fair enough.
So I tend not to pre-order games just for that reason, just to try and avoid the disappointment if it falls flat. So, last point that I wanted to hit before we call it a first episode of this, whatever this is. I wanted to talk about games that came out in the month of October 10, 20, 30 years ago and just see how games have changed over time. So we're going to hit the notable ones. Back in 2003 is what we'll start with. We had where was it? I know I had it. Tony Hawk's Underground. A classic skating game, a little bit of a departure from the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series. But we definitely had some more notable ones than that one. Call of Duty, released October 29th of 2003. It is just a few weeks away from being 20 years old. If you didn't feel old before, I bet you feel old now, because I certainly do. I
remember playing that.
I was 5 when this game came out.
I was also 5.
Oh boy. SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom also came out. And Grand Theft Auto 3. All the way back in 2003. Which, that creates a lovely parallel with 2013. Because you already know that's when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out.
Yeah.
So, and that one, by far, sold the most copies of any game of 2013. But that was not the only big hit in 2013. You had BioShock Infinite. You had The Last of Us. That's a major game. Super Mario 3D World it was Nintendo's best-selling game of the year. Rayman Legends. HD remakes of Legend of Zelda, although you did have A Link Between Worlds came out, which was just a link to the past with an extra mix in it. Oh my goodness, I did not even think about this. Dota 2 came out in 2013. And
here's another one for you. The Stanley Parable.
The Stanley Parable and XCOM Enemy Within. So, already just comparing the 2 years, this was that was the whole year. If we had to go to October, where is October? Where is October? Come on. Okay. October. Stanley Parable was in October. The Wolf Among Us released in October. Beyond Two Souls. That game was incredibly popular. I think that was a release title on... Oh, no, it was on the PS3. It was still on PS3. I was about to say, I thought it was a release title for PS4. But,
Oh, are you ready for the 93 ones?
I'm excited for the 93 ones. I'm just trying to see if there's any other notable ones from 2013. Oh, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. My favorite Assassin's Creed game is going to be 10 years old. Wow.
So I'll just hit the big ones.
Okay.
Starting at the top, Doom.
Oh gosh, Doom is 30 years old.
Yep.
Wow.
Missed. My mother's favorite video game.
Can't blame her.
Star Wars X-Wing.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I gotta find Super Street Fighter 2. Castlevania.
The first one?
Rondo of Blood.
Oh, Renato. But yes. So not the first one, but I was gonna say a little late for the first one. Now that I think about that, first one was in the 80s.
Nukem 2.
Sheesh, dude.
Yeah, that's
So it's interesting. I did miss Pokemon X and Y, came out in October of 2013. But a very interesting dichotomy of games with Duke Nukem and Doom as compared to uh, Grand Theft Auto 3 and Call of Duty, and then moving up to 2013, Grand Theft Auto 5, and just it's just an intriguing change in the way you can tell games are told, even in the same franchise. Because if you want to compare GTA 3 to GTA 5, GTA 5 has so much more storytelling. Now, granted, I've never played through the games, just because GTA isn't really my kind of game. But I do know the story from GTA 5, and it is so much more fleshed out than even the like San Andreas was more fleshed out than 3, and 5 blows San Andreas out of the water. The Last of Us is an incredible.
Look at the size of the games.
Oh yeah, size of the games too. Like,
So what's the? There's a theory that you can run. If you can make something that can run Doom, it's considered a computer, right?
I don't know if it's considered a computer because people have made Doom run on a pregnancy test before. And there's quite a few weird things like that they've managed to make Doom run on.
They made Doom inside of Minecraft, man.
Yeah, I know. It is ridiculous. I think that's what it is a qualifying. It's a question before it can be considered a computer. That you have to ask the question: can it run Doom? If it can run Doom, that is like the base question to see if something can qualify as a computer. Like, not even can it send an electrical signal. It's now become, can it run Doom?
Here you go. Doom was 2.39 megabytes.
2.39 megabytes. And Grand Theft Auto 5. Can I find the size? GTA 5.
103 gigabytes.
103 gigabytes. To how much was Doom?
2.39. 2.39
megabytes to 103 gigabytes. Okay. Now let's see. Original Call of Duty file size. .4 gigabytes. So that's an incredible progression from 2 megabytes to 1.4 gigabytes to 103 gigabytes. That's absolutely wild. Here's
in the span of 30 years.
In the span of 30 years. So here's one last question just to end off with. When do you think the first terabyte-sized game will come out? If ever.
It's coming, and I can tell you why it's coming. Eventually we are going to get away from consoles, I believe, and we're going to go to VR setups.
Yes, once it gets more advanced, definitely.
I think it will be in the next 10 years. And I feel like the very first game where you get to actually like feel what's happening to your character will crank that up. Because look at Baldur's Gate 3. It's how many gigabytes?
It's quite a lot.
$150 gigabytes.
So if we go PS2, just as an interesting question, what is the highest gigabyte game ever released? It seems to be Ark Survival Evolved at 250 gigabytes. I'm seeing conflicting things, because some things are saying that it's at like 400 gigabytes. 275, 250. So we'll say it's around like 250 gigabytes is the largest game. And that is Ark Survival Evolved. With all the DLCs. So we're about a quarter of the way to a terabyte.
Yeah.
Definitely an interesting progression in the history of games.
But it's also like computers are getting better, so I don't...
yeah, of course. Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to look all the way back at the PS2 era, your little thumb drive for the PS2 is 8 megabytes. It's not even a gigabyte, it's 8 megabytes, I think. I might be wrong about that. Maybe it is 8 gigabytes, but still, 8 gigabytes then was like, oh my goodness, 8 gigabytes? That's insane. Now I have a 2 terabyte hard drive on my computer, and that's considered small.
It's even funnier when you think about it. We could go to Walmart and buy a 1 terabyte flash drive for less than $20 now.
Oh yeah, it like dirt cheap.
And like we were in high school when those things were like first coming out.
Yeah, dude. What was it, 2013 or 2014 when it was like, dude, you can store a terabyte of information? Oh my gosh, I'll never be able to fill that. That's so much.
And now it's like my laptop alone, which has 2 terabytes, is almost full.
Yeah.
And I have multiple terabytes of online storage.
What was it? I think it was Bill Gates who said the average person will not need a home computer with more than a megabyte. Was it a single megabyte, or was it Bill Gates megabyte quote? Meanwhile, I keep bumping into that silly quotation attributed to me that says 640 kilobytes. Not even a megabyte. 640 kilobytes of memory is enough. That was the quote he said back in 1981. And now...
Enter the lair of the reigning...
Why did YouTube just start playing something? Well, that's fun.
I have about 5 terabytes of storage used. And I'm a single person.
Jeez Louise. It's insane. It's insane how far technology has come, but...
And the worst part about all of this is it's not even mostly on video games.
Oh boy. Alright, well, I think that's about all the time we have for episode 1 of Bardic Blunders.
If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below.
Yeah, throw us whatever you got. Right now, this is just kind of an off-the-cuff show. We wanted to make a podcast. We made a few points, and if there's anything you guys want us to talk about, we will be more than willing to take note of them and bring them for the next episode. We will try to do this every Tuesday night at 8:30. We'll try and keep a tight schedule on this one, unlike the rest of my streams. But yeah, as for now, that is all from me. And all from...
Well, we might have some guests coming and going.
Possibly. We need a good sign-off, because I'm far too awkward to be good at this.
I don't know. Why are you pitching this at me? Last second.
I don't know.
Like,
Good question.
Tally ho.
Figured I'd put
Tally
Tally
ho.
Ho.
We're off to see the wizard.
Tally Ho. I like
What do you-
that.
Tally ho. We're gone.
Tally Ho, everyone. Have a wonderful night.